Hello everybody, good morning. Bit of a late start this morning, but never mind, let's get stuck straight in. So before we start, obviously, today there's FOMC meeting. So that's likely to throw a spanner in the works, whether you're bullish or bearish. It's likely to be a liquidation event across the board. We're going to talk about XRP this morning because there's not really nothing else to talk about. I mean, the markets are all sort of pulling back. They're sort of like, I suppose, not looking particularly happy, to be honest with you. But like we were saying on the Patreon live stream last night, there is one little tiny element of hope which exists basically here. I mean, it's gone down a little bit further and it hit exactly the trend line that we were talking about last night. I was saying it was a risky position to take, but if anybody decided that they wanted to take it, that's where you would expect to bounce from. It's not just this horizontal here, which is all part of this box. I call it the box of significance. But we've got the 20 moving average, the 21 exponential moving average all sitting around here as well. So we saw the wick down. I mean, it's probably just a coincidence, but it does look pretty perfect at that level. And if we were to see that again, it's highlighted even more by that 65,300 area, which is now sort of supported by 21 and a 20 moving average. So decent support for it there, but unfortunately rejection already on the 10 exponential. But look, let's face it, it's so far so good. I mean, you've got to play the cards you dealt. I was saying last night that if anyone wanted to try it, I wouldn't blame them for it, and this would be a bounce that would bounce the whole market, the whole crypto market, if it were to work. If we were to lose that area, which more or less is coming in around about 65,300 now, you've got a few little areas where you might see a bounce, but 4 hourlies versus dailies, I always favour the higher term time frames above the shorter term time frames. You do have a 200 exponential sitting at 64,500, we'll call it, and then a 200 simple down here at 62,500. But it's not just Bitcoin that's pulling back, it's all markets. So let's move over to something that's slightly different. XRP, finally. So we were talking about this, well, about a month ago really. So there was evidence of a rounded bottom taking place on the weekly. So we can see that rounded bottom taking place now. Broke outside of the 20 moving average, and so far we've maintained price above it. Lots of wicks going on right now, and it's all about the daily on the Bitcoin pair for me. It's all about this area. So the 200 exponential, whether you're below it, it's going to be a major resistance. When you're above it, should hopefully be major support. Not immediately, but you have to get above it for it to start to turn into a trend. Now we haven't seen price above here for a long time, not since all the way back here November 2023, and a lot of the time, and I mean it, a lot of the time, when we do break above here, we do have a very strong, big, powerful move. The only thing that looks similar to this area here is this area here in June 2022. So we came up to it, rejected from it many times, and then we sort of crept above it and then sort of went skyrocketing parabolic, basically. Now, this is also, it's not completely fair, but I mean, this is also an anomaly as well. But look, you got to backtest it to an extent. Now, I've been saying this on XRP, like, I make a video usually once a week on XRP, or have been doing recently, because of the nature of the setup. And this setup currently, while candle body is above this 200 exponential, might even close above it, and when you close above it, hopefully you will build a base above it, and then you will build upon it, and then you will start to reclaim a lot of these lost areas. If we go to the weekly, obviously the next major resistance on the weekly is the 50 exponential moving average, which is 1,147, and then you got all these as well, and I'd be very surprised to see it break outside of 2,170 sats, maybe ever. It will definitely need a really it'll need something extremely powerful to do that, because it's never done that. XRP has lived below this moving average for its entire existence. Well, that's not fair, but certainly since Binance's days anyway. Let's move over to the tether pair, where things actually look a lot better. So we've managed to get 1, 2, 3 now above the 200 simple moving average, using that as a base to build upon this last portion of the rally. The horizontal comes in at around about 67 cents, and again, this is still, plenty of room to make up lots of area of resistance, but the majority of the resistance was down here, and we've just gone straight through it. So if we were to see this area get faded, which we can easily see, remember, FOMC is not your best friend, so don't go trading based on what you have read on Twitter or what you expect. It's going to be volatile, and generally, whether it's a rate hike, a rate cut, or it's unchanged. I feel like the market is normally correct in pricing these sort of events in, and if the market, as it would appear to be, doesn't want to go up, then I would expect that regardless of the decision that they make, it will continue with its general trend down, which is what everything else apart from XRP is doing. And if you're going to come down based on this weekly, most supports exist down here around 53 to 54 cents. If we take ourselves back to the daily, what do we see? Fresh golden cross took place, confirmed last night, 54 cents. So if you're bullish on something, you expect these golden crosses to have some kind of weight and validity. You also expect them to get retested to see if they actually are strong supports. So we've got the weekly and the daily all pointing to 54 cents. And so if you get a pullback into 54 cents, it is a position to take, to be honest with you, because it's a bullish chart and it is a position to take. This is something that we've been talking about on the Patreon for a very long time. You know, when I was predicting the alt rallies, you know, I said we're going to get an alt rally. I won't call it an alt season because it's not, and we'll call it an alt rally. And for the most part, these altcoins should be bouncing and moving into, at best, death cross retests. We'll look at VeChain as a great example, but it's not the only example. The vast majority of altcoins look like this. So we had the alt rally. It was decent. I was telling everybody we're going to get between 20 to 50%. So if we were going to go on candle body to candle body, that's 41. If you were to go from wick to wick, it's much higher. But really what we saw was the rally into the death cross. And then I kept on saying, not just to patrons, but to everybody, invert the scales. And then you'll see a bullish chart, and then you will check your bias. So we have rallies up, we have moving averages reclaimed, we've got horizontals reclaimed, we've got golden crosses, we have golden crosses supported, and then you'd expect a V-shaped recovery and maybe continuation. So that's what a bullish chart looks like. Unfortunately, that is not the way it looks. This is the way it looks. This is down facing, bearish, continuous consolidation chart, nothing more than a death cross retest. And what should you expect? Well, a rejection at the very least, possibly a full retrace, and maybe even breakdown. Now, who is the anomaly here? XRP is basically the opposite of that. So let's invert the scales for those who wish to be bearish on it. Okay, so what we've had here is we had a failed rally where we went straight through the support. Okay, we come down to a major horizontal. Unfortunately, we continue to break down. Further weakness, getting rejected on a 10 exponential, not a good look for it. Oh my god, we've got a death cross retest, so what would you expect from that? You'd expect a bounce into the death cross retest and then a rejection, just like we saw with VeChain, just like we've seen with everything generally. But hang on a minute. That's not the reality. This is the reality, thank god. Oh my god, finally. So, look, I'm not saying buy XRP with every last penny you've got. If anyone has XRP, they've most likely already got it. You know, buying XRP in a rally is not a good idea because it's so volatile anyway. But if there was a trade that is presented to us anywhere within crypto, the best one I can see is this. And it doesn't mean that it's the best and will definitely work out forever and the best thing that's ever happened ever. I just mean it's the best thing that I've seen in all the charts that we look at. And this is the area. So maybe today we see a move into resistance. Maybe we see at that point a move down into the death cross. I mean the golden cross. Bloody hell, I've got death crosses on the mind. How could you not when everything else is doing it? The golden cross, a support around the golden cross, you know, in the mid to lower 50s perhaps, and then a V-shaped recovery, and maybe at that point the breakout, which takes us to somewhere serious. If we start to close below here, and then we come down to get rejected from it, then yeah, it's failed rally and we come back down with what I would imagine the rest of the market to be like, because the rest of the market is that. S&P, not very happy. You know, Dixie, actually sitting at support. You know, everything you look at, really, generally speaking, is not particularly happy. There's no point in boring you to death. I'd be surprised if you made it to the end of this video. Most people are going to be absolutely wrecked with no funds to buy, and so they're not going to be tuning in to look for opportunities. They've missed their opportunities. They've lost their opportunities because they were too bullish when I was saying I think it's time to get out and wait for consolidation throughout the summer to buy back lower, which is still the most appropriate thing to be looking at when you look at all the other altcoins that are pointing further down with no real signs of reversal. But you play the cards you dealt. Summer consolidation still in play. The only anomaly amongst all of this is XRP, and even that is not it's not invulnerable to the rest of the market if it decides to pull back. But there is an opportunity, 54 cents. That's enough for that. Right, I'll leave it with you there. Good luck with your trading. Be careful today. The old men will sit around the table and they will say things which will move that market one way or another. Most likely, when the dust has settled, the trend will continue, which is one of a downtrend. Thank you very much. Good night.